Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Meenamma's here today to tell you a story. And of course, a very, very special one. Hold on to your seats as we prepare to dive into the world of a man whose life reads like an exciting script of creativity, innovation, and storytelling. My pleasure to introduce the inimitable Roshan Abbas. Google him. Roshan's journey began at 4, leading to a stellar 25-year-old career spanning radio, TV, theater, events, Bollywood, and notably Shah Rukh Khan's Red Chilli production. Beyond the limelight, he is the visionary behind ENCOMPASS, transforming it into a leading experiential marketing agency, now part of the WPP family. With a trophy cabinet, I'm sure boasting over 7 national awards, a presence that has graced over 100 cities, Roshan is not just an entertainer, but a mentor, educator, social entrepreneur whose influence spans passionate corridors of the digital and creative world. His ventures like The Glitch and investments in the passion economy speaks volumes. But what truly sets Roshan apart is his heart for storytelling. And that's why he's here, not just the brands and business, but every individual's unique journey. As a founding force of Commune and the Spoken Fest, he has created platforms that celebrates the art of the language spoken across the globe. So buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, as we explore the lessons, the lives, and the laughter of the one and only Roshan Abbas, a man whose every word is a masterclass in living life, a storyteller, innovator, visionary. Roshan continues to inspire, teach, and entertain, making the world a stage for one and all. Welcome to the MEENAMMA Show, my dear friend Roshan, the man who loves to say, "Let me tell you a story." Tell us your story. Where did it begin, Roshan, for you?
Thank you, Meenakshi. Sometimes, when you have such a intimidating person because you've got so many degrees and so many titles, I was like, what do I call? I remember I wrote ma'am and you were like, ma'am. But really, it's wonderful to be with another great storyteller and another visionary. So thank you for having me here. It all started, Meenakshi, when I was in Lucknow because my parents were both teachers. From a very early age, because my mother had given up her education before when she was having my sister and me, and then she took up her education afterwards, and she had not even finished her graduation. So when she started doing her graduation, she was studying history and European history, medieval Indian history, English literature, and I remember that she was studying Midsummer's Night's Dream as the piece for her exams. And because she would have to learn things and passages, our nights were spent listening to lullabies from Shakespeare.
Oh,
And
wow.
when she would tell us lines from Shakespeare and we would ask her questions, she would try and simplify the story and say, there was a fairy prince and there was a fairy queen who thought he was very dull. And then she had this man called Puck who used to go and do this magic love potion. And we were too young. I mean, I was like, what's the love potion? And she used to say, "Nahi, nahi, kuch nahi hai. It was a jadoo ka potion." And she gave him a funny name called Nibu Nichod. So like in my head, right, somebody squeezing a lemon made sense, but somebody having a love potion didn't. I think from that very early stage, when you have a person like your mother narrating these stories, narrating historical stories, you have a very fertile ground. And my father, because he was also teaching electrical engineering, and he was a very arts focused person, but his father had not allowed him to pursue that. As you know, so many people at that point in time were not given that option. So my father, I think, used to fulfill a lot of his love for culture and the arts by taking my sister and me every Sunday to a museum, to a show, to a painting exhibition, to a
Wow.
movie. And at that young age, I keep saying that what you feed your imagination is what will create the stories you tell. So I think I was given such a fertile imagination by my parents that the foundation was very well laid.
So the hand that rocked the cradle ruled your world. Both your parents were teachers. That makes it so precious and a common identity. My mom was also a teacher. I understand. But I want to take you back to the time when there was a 4-year-old little boy in Lucknow. This boy was very vehement on getting onto the stage. Do you remember this boy and do you remember how he felt? And tell me, how that spark became born.
I was studying at a Montessori school, which allowed you to do a lot of things by activity. And there used to be an annual contest, and I was just 4 years old, and they told me they put me in a play. So I was so excited to be in the play, and the play was actually an interlude between the senior classes. So the idea was that the curtain would close, and in front of the curtain, me and two other children would come and tell this very funny joke that was being enacted. The joke was simple. There's a Nawab who comes in, he meets two people who are arguing, and he says, "Why are you arguing?" And one of them looks up and says, "That's the sun." And the other guy says, "No, that's the moon." And they just keep fighting. And I'm like, "Stop, stop, stop." And I look from here and I say, "यहाँ से देखो तो सूरज दिखता है, यहाँ से देखो तो चांद दिखता है.
चांद दिखता है.
आप दोनों ही सही हो." And they leave. And when they leave, I turn to the audience and I say, "ये कितने नामकूल लोग हैं." It was actually a patang, a kite.
Oh.
One side had the moon and one side had the sun. So every time it would twirl, it would show different faces. Now, very
Wow.
small, 1 minute, 2 minute story. When we went on stage, because we were going to a very big hall, the Ravindralaya in Lucknow, it would take, I think, about 600, 700 people. So we'd only performed this for our teacher and maybe 2, 3 other people. So suddenly, when there's a light on you, there is 1,000 odd people, the other two boys froze. And the minute they froze, I said, "Oh my God, if these guys freeze, they'll put off the light and we'll be off stage. There goes my moment." So they actually, at that time, at such an early age, cooked up their lines. I walked up and I said, "You're looking angry. Why are you angry?" And he still didn't answer. I said, "You're looking angry. Why are you angry?" And he didn't have an answer. I said, "Maybe you're angry because you're thinking this is something." So then it struck him. He said, "Yeah, it's the sun." I said, "Maybe you're angry because you think it's something." He said, "It's the moon." So I made up all the lines, made the play worked, people clapped. And when I came off stage, first the sensation of so many people clapping was like genuinely, I would say, a high. It was a rush.
Yes.
And when I came off, the teacher turned and said that, told my parents कि इस बच्चे ने आज हमारी इज्जत रखी. He really kept the honor of the school. So by doing something that makes your teacher happy, makes an audience happy, makes you happy, I said, this is the best job in the world. And I think that's when my love for stage, theatre, presentation, storytelling, I think started from then on.
You've taken the road less traveled. I still remember going through your TEDx talk, and I was so impressed. Roshan, you were so, blatant, so frank, so honest about your failures as much as you were about the success. Because today we can clap and say, "Oh my God, Roshan was lucky." But no, I know the difficult times that you've had. I would like you to, you started off as a 4-year-old with maybe your school audience. Then you went on to become an RJ and one of the top in what is today Radio Mirchi. Maybe Times Music, was that the name then? And you were talking to the whole city, the whole state, and then you went on to different platforms and just kept growing. And at every time you sought to have a bigger audience. So what was that road that that little boy who was just 4 had for him? Because you seem to have made up your mind. You negotiated with your parents to get out of a science, a curriculum, and you wanted to take theater. So you had it all planned, and there was something inside you. Tell us about that road.
So what happens is when you come from a small city like Lucknow, and I'm talking the late 80s, the roles were very traditional. Everybody was either going to be an engineer or a doctor, or many children from my school used to go into the armed forces because we had a very big lineage of boys and girls going to the Air Force, the Navy, the Army. But I didn't want to do any of this because my love for theatre had now extended to theatre, debating, music, just a minute, elocution. And what used to also happen was that because of my parents being extreme, my parents were not just the kind of parents who would, pat you on the back and say, "Go do it." My parents were the kind who would make me rehearse, who would critique,
Yeah.
right? And I remember when I was in class 5, I did a debate where I thought that, going and rebutting a senior student is a very good idea. So I got up saying this will get me some points. And I went and rebutted the person, but I didn't make much sense. And when the person gave an answer, I didn't have a counter. So I got very upset and I went home and I told my father, I said, why did I not, get a good thing? And my father said, "See, if you parrot my words, you will always be a parrot. But if you think your own words, then you will be your own mind." So from that point onwards, I said having my own mind, having my own opinion, working hard, and I used to really, really again, I'm saying, see, we were the generation that had one radio, one tape recorder, television came much later in life. So you were your own entertainment. So if you went for a rehearsal, 3 hours, you were rehearsing a play, which was like living a film, right? Or if you were on music and somebody was playing the guitar and you were singing a song, you were in the middle of a film song. So I took extracurriculars to almost be that extra part of my life, which most people really, and I'm not saying it with a bias, but many people used to squander that time saying, "Acha, we'll hang out with other boys.
Yeah.
We'll waste our time or while away our time." I never whiled away my time. So I think when I reached class 11th, I realized that my parents' ambition is still for me to be a doctor. My personal ambition at that time had started shifting to stage. So we had an evening ceremony where my dad used to always come back from college around 4:30, and my mom would then make tea, and it was a ritual where all of us used to sit for tea. My sister, my father, my mother, me. And I think at that time I sat with my parents and I told them, I said, you know what, I really do want to. I can be a very good doctor. I can. I said I'm very good at even dissecting a frog, but the frog doesn't clap for me. I said, but when the
You needed
audience
an audience.
I said, when the audience claps, I said, Dad, it's a different high. And my father was very simple. He went, he got his state bank passbook and showed me that he said, Beta, we've saved up 4 lakh rupees. 2 lakh is for your sister, 2 lakh is for you. So, till the extent of this 2 lakh, you can do anything, I will not mind. But if you come back after the 2 lakhs for even 1 more rupee, I will not be able to give that to you. So, I'm being very clear. So, if you come back and say, fund my film, I can't do it. If you come back and say, sell this house, I will not do it. So, it's so good when your parents give you both the freedom and at the same time also tell you the constraints. So, knowing those constraints, having got their blessings, I went to Delhi and now I was very goal oriented. So, people often say that how is it that a creative person understands commerce so well? And I said the reason is because at an early age, I knew what the price of my time and money had to mean because my parents were clear कि हमारे पास इतना ही है. Now, how do you maximize that? So I joined a professional theatre group. I would go and do voiceovers. I would go and write a script. And I would negotiate my money. I would get 200, 300, 500 rupees. But Meenakshi, at that point in time, the amount of money that I required to live the month was 1,000. So I was being able to earn 2 times that money. So I
Wonderful.
was just feeling happy saying, hey, my talent pays for itself. So there was no fear. And from then, I went to mass communication. Being in Amir Raza Hussein's theatre group, I worked with absolutely brilliant people. And a professional theatre group in Delhi meant that you were working with people who were the head of JWT advertising, Sanjay Ray
Yeah.
Chaudhary, who went on to be the head of TV18, Rohit Khanna, who was one of the
Correct.
best actors, right? So you were in the midst of genius. Even today, like this morning, a magazine was asking me saying, how do you stay relevant? I said, I always try to stay in the midst of genius, right? Today I can count on Gaurav Kapoor, Zakir Khan, Tanmay Bhatt, Tess Joseph, many other people, Kausar Munir, Ankur Tiwari, all of these people as my friends, mentors. And I mean, they might be younger than me, but they can still be mentors. So I think that surrounding yourself with great people then pushes you to work better, to work harder. And the other strange thing, and why the line you use called the road less traveled, which I keep trying to tell people, I said, when I came out of mass communication, there was no commercial television. There was
Yes.
Doordarshan. There was All India Radio. And I was like, how do I make a life with this? But I still managed to convince a very nice gatekeeper at All India Radio to let me in, get a show on FM. And that's when ZTV and Star TV just started. And suddenly I was offered 1 or 2 shows. And again, while I was giving it my all, I was also asking for a fair sum. So I sometimes tell people that, imagine in 1995, 96, suddenly you're taking a paycheck of a lakh and a half.
So you were negotiating for your talent at that time itself.
Yeah. And,
Oh, wow.
always knowing your value. I mean, I often like making these statements. I said, know your value and know your values. These are two very critical things. So what will you not compromise on in money, and what will you not compromise on in morals and ethics?
True.
Both are important.
True. Roshan, you and I have something common. We both represent a generation of middle class kids with big dreams. And we were actually growing up. I'm much older than you, but I realized we might have walked the same path where, things were opening up. Digital India was opening up. The new India was opening up. People, our older generation started relying on us for our creative instincts. And you and I were wanting to tell a story. You often say we are all born with wings. You see, after many years, I have Mariposa on me, and that's the name of my book. Uh, how did you find your wings? Was there an inspiration, or did the butterfly just burst one day and say that this was always, this pupa was a restless pupa, I understand, pupa Roshan. But the day you found your wings, which is that one day, that memorable day when Roshan met Roshan?
So I think there are two sides to this. One is Roshan as an individual talent, and then there is Roshan as the creative entrepreneur. See, what happened was when I was an individual talent and I was doing really well, many people used to tell me, you're doing so well, you'll keep growing as an individual. But I remember at that time, Oprah Winfrey and Phil Donahue were on TV. And Phil Donahue, who many people have now forgotten, had an equally popular talk show like Oprah Winfrey. And he turned at that point in time and in an interview he said, if you're great, you'll have maybe 10 years in this medium. If you're God, you'll have 15. And after that, people will forget you. So in my head, when I was 25 or 26, I was like, okay, this career is only going to be available to me most probably if I'm very, very good till the age of 40. So what will I do otherwise? And that's when I set up ENCOMPASS and I said, you know what? One person, see, they say that, if you want to walk a mile, you can run alone. But if you want to run a marathon, you need that team with you. You need people around you. And I had a long vision at that point in time saying, why are the creative arts not respected? Why is event management not respected? Why are organizers very often promising the undoable and then failing and getting cursed by a client? And therefore, and in theater, that didn't happen. See, in theater, you knew there's a paying audience, so you would work for months on end to deliver a product, even if you had no time. You would. So I said, why can't you translate the same quality into
Passion.
that passion? And that's when I
Yes.
set about building an organization. Um, while building the organization, I thought I had found my wings, but one day I went and sold an idea that was very big. And the CEO of the company turned and said, I love the idea, Roshan, you guys are on. And when I left the room, his team was standing outside saying, you may have convinced him, but you haven't convinced us.
Oh.
Right? And they said, listen, we know you, but we don't know who the team is. So how will you deliver this? And, Meenakshi, at that point in time, I remember a contract coming home that had an indemnity clause of 50 lakhs.
Oh, that's scary.
Right? So if the event was for 25 lakhs, the indemnity clause was 50 lakhs. And I'm like, they said, if you screw up the show, you'll have to pay that amount. I think they were testing me. I think they were wanting to see whether I mean business. So I came back home and I looked and I said, no, this will take me about 2 years to earn if I screw up. So am I willing to take that leap? Now, this is where I often say that a pupa becomes a butterfly when it has to force its way out of the pupa. If you help it, its wings don't get stretched.
It
So
has to
I
be
think
strong to break.
these challenges, these questions, these kind of things, roadblocks coming in your way, they make you more resilient. They make you. So I remember I set up the company. 3 years later, we were doing so well. We were Delhi's largest event company, and suddenly 7 out of the 10 people came to me and said, "So where's our share in the profit?" And I'm like, "You guys are working for me. I'm the guy who invested and took all the risk in this company." And I see I'm talking 97, 98. Now, at that point in time, there was no idea of ESOPs and profit share. I mean, how did one even know how to run a business? And I was like, listen, guys, I don't know the answer. So can we sit together and try and find the answer? And I tried very hard to convince them to stay, but 7 of them left. And we were left with 3 core people. But again, the challenge was, can one rebuild the agency? And I said, what was wrong? What was wrong was we had great spirit, but we had very few systems. So I then got a professional CEO to join us, who was this lovely lady who's now in Singapore called Sue Fertar, one of my dearest friends. And she
Wow.
came and she quickly saw the problems and said, you know what? Let me lay down systems. Let me lay down these processes. And we gave her, complete carte blanche and said, you can do what you want.
Yeah. Mm.
So if you want to build organizations, if you want to build bigger companies, I keep telling people, make yourself dispensable. Make yourself the first person they can sack. Because they're like, it's okay, you know? And people are very insecure, which I am not. I'm not at all insecure about my talent or my work or my work. So I always find my own replacement and then I set them up and I move on to run the next thing.
Oh, wonderful. We've seen you in different verticals, right from television to production to events to emceeing to digital marketing to writing lyrics to being an investor. And today is all about the event maverick that Roshan is. Your name itself says Spark, but your company, Encompass, I remember when, we the early days, we used to always look up to you as one of, a fantastically reliant company. And you people went on to become India's largest experiential enterprise and won awards nationally, internationally. At a time when people didn't understand BTL, didn't understand rural marketing, you were there. You were dictating the terms on something. You were pioneers. And event space itself, grew into experiential events. So I think our audience here is, there are so many things. When I told people I'm going to speak to Roshan, some of them said, oh my God, family fortune, we grew up on it. As somebody had said, public demands. Your television presence is absolutely brilliant. People who watch Amazon and, your storytelling, they came back. But then when I told them the story about your event, the ball stopped right there. They said, wow, ma'am, this is something incredible because you were able to do it and to also relinquish, sell it away, like giving your baby away to somebody else, but you remained. And then you went on to tell your story in different things. I wanted to ask you, how do you see, your actual worth versus your net worth? You kept growing, Roshan. They say you're the man with the golden touch, you're the Midas, but I know it's not easy, to be Roshan, to put yourself in the driving seat every day. It's a challenge. The inward fuel is high, but externally people are not like you. Not everybody's in the same wavelength. So what was the power of storytelling and the joy of the journey that you would like to tell event managers? A lot of young people watching us today, and for them, event management is a glamorous, glitzy world. Very few people actually see the difficult times. So Roshan, tell them the truth.
So you ask me two things. You know me tell them the story and tell them the truth. So sometimes I want to tell people that stories are fictional, occasionally, but I'm going to try and tell them the true story. So again, because of this systems thing that I was trying to do at Encompass, I again had a bunch of people who left after, and I said, now why did they leave? And somebody said, yeah, there were too many systems. So I realized that great companies have a balance between systems on one side and spirit on the other. Now, you can get systems ingrained into people by telling them great stories about the company. So, Encompass always had, like, companies have creative directors. We had one of the craziest designations in the world, which was called the Chief Fun Officer, the CFO.
Oh,
Their job was to make sure people were having fun. Their job
yes.
was to distribute spa coupons if somebody was tired. Their job was to buy tickets for sunburn and send off a bunch of people saying, "You enjoy EDM, we don't understand it, go." Right? So the spirit and the system in creative companies needs to balance. Because if there's too much spirit and no system, you will have chaos. And if there is too much system and no spirit, you will have boredom. So you need to
Yes.
find the balance. The other thing was that I had a very good team. I had my core team was Sukrit Singh, who was the CEO for the longest time. Today runs his own agency. Ranjit Raina, who has twice come back to support me, a brilliant friend, brilliant filmmaker. Sham Rajagopalan, who was again our head of content, a very, very good filmmaker. Navneet Mohan, Chanda Singh, I can tell lots of names, but I'm taking a few names because all of these people have thrived and done things on their own. I think one of the joys of leadership is to create great leaders. I spend a lot of time in any organization that I am in to, as I said earlier, find my own replacement, imbue in them my values, let them take decisions, let them make mistakes. Because if you don't let them make mistakes, etc., they will never learn. and stand behind them. I mean, we just did a brilliant festival, and at the end of the festival, one of my friends turned and very sweetly said that, I saw you coming right at the end on stage and introducing your entire team and everybody else. And I was like, I've learned one lesson over these 30 odd years of work, which is when there's a crisis, stand in front of your team, right? When there is praise and cheering, go and stand at the back,
Go behind. True. Very
right?
true.
I mean, it's so important. And I find a lot of people in our business, your business and mine, very egotistical, very self-centered, very money-centered. I mean, people throw their weight around with money, money, money. And I'm like, ultimately, when you will go into that 6x4 grave, you will only go remembered for what you did and what you leave behind in the hearts. And so tell the stories. I have, Encompass every year, and why I mentioned Sham, and there was another boy called Shubhrajyoti Guha, Mukesh Kumar Begu in our film team. Every year at the Encompass offsite, they would make a film. Even today, Meenakshi, if there's a day that I'm down and out and I see those films, they're the funniest films. They make a joke on me, on Sukrit, on our practices. But people used to look at, they used to be the stories of our achievement. They used to be the stories of the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. And I
Mm.
keep saying that the only way to celebrate and build culture. See, what did we learn moral lessons from? The Aesop's fables, the Jataka tales, Akbar
Yes.
Birbal, Mulla Nasruddin, Tenali Raman. They are all stories, but they're actually laying down a code of ethics. This is good, this is bad. Do this in
Yes.
this situation, do this in that situation. So, similarly, Encompass had this beautiful training manual which would train everybody. We were always known for building a great culture, building great culture practices within. And again, I think we were always a creative agency first, and which is why we were able to constantly evolve. Many event companies would become just event companies, but we would see what's the gap in the market. If the gap is that Motorola needs to sell pagers to truck drivers and truck drivers listen to music, we must be able to go to Venus and negotiate how to get a cassette made with their favorite songs. Now,
Wonderful.
normally the manager would turn and say, "That's not my job." No, anything is your job as long as it delivers the experience. Which is why I started dropping the word event and saying experiential,
Experience.
right?
Yes.
Because we actually build experiences, and I think that is a part of the story of what one has done, and genuinely tried to build this. And even when it came to selling Encompass, we had a bunch of people who came. There was one person offering us a lot more money, but they didn't have a great track record. And I mean, I would have made a couple more crores, but how would I have lived with myself if I knew that they would have broken up the company into something else? Another
Wow.
group had great creative ideas, but when we went to meet their management, I could see that their senior management was so scared of us. I said, working with these people will be a pain. They'll always be worried that we might take their jobs. It was when we went to JWT and we met Colvin Harris and Michael Meadle, Nick Romas. I mean, we just felt we were at home. We felt that these people knew us, they respected us, they understood us. And they asked me at that time, saying, "Roshan, why do you want to sell?" And I said, I was not interested in selling. But now that we've had this conversation, I said, there are so many times when I'm sitting with a brand, and on one side of the room, there's the advertising agency, on the other side, there is us. I said, we seem to be that one night stand. You are the marriage, right?
Wow.
They will work with you through the year. You'll do good, you'll do bad, but they'll work with you. We are judged by what we did yesterday. I said, I want to
True.
lose that. I want the legitimacy that you have. I want to have that marriage with the brand. And Colvin loved it. And Colvin and Michael said, listen, this is a great vision to have. So you want to come into the fold of advertising and maybe learn a little bit more about the science of what it is, or the art of branding. And honestly, believe you me, the relationship with WPP from 2008 to 2021, and our earnout was only 5 years, but we stayed so much longer because I was constantly learning. I was constantly being challenged, not just me, Sukrit, my partner. I mean, he was like, listen, let's build this, let's build this. And I was like, go, you do it. I'm here. Whenever you need me, I'm there to support you. If there's ever an issue, I'll be around. And again, today, when I look at the industry, there are so many faces who will come to you and say, I am what I am because of what Encompass gave me. That's my biggest turn.
Yes, I met some of your progeny, and they swear by you. It's a lovely thing to be a mentor all your life.
Right.
Uh, you took up the realm of the president of EMA, our association, our national association, the Event and Entertainment Management Association, just post COVID. It was a difficult time for all of us because almost 1.5 years we didn't have bread and butter on the table, and we were holding our forts together. Many companies closed down at that time. I remember those who were not relevant just disappeared, and it was very difficult. And to come and hold and anchor our boat at that time was incredible, because you and your team at that time, I must put my hand out and salute Sabas and Brian and Samit and Sanjoy and all your team, who actually told us the importance of getting digital. So for many of us who are in two tier, three-tier cities, event meant something on ground, and suddenly the whole world opened up to 3D experiences, and you happily went into that digital space and told us stories. I remember every week we had sessions like this. You were the father of the team at that time. How was it at that time? Because expectations were that during happy days, everybody wants to be the bride's father, but during difficult days, it's the most difficult position to be in. Tell us about those days post COVID, how the event industry was, and how your journey went into a different route, how you meandered into digital events.
So, thank you for a lovely question, because very often people miss this part. And, because we were running EMA during the pandemic, many people who only believe in on ground still feel that, oh my God, so what did we do on ground? Not realizing that not much could be done on ground. What happened was that we had a content division at Encompass from a very long time. So we were making digital content, television shows for brands. So we understood the power of content. The money you spend on an event, the event is witnessed unless it is televised by maximum a stadium full of people. So what, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 people. A piece of digital content shot, this piece by itself, if you put it into reels, tomorrow one bit of it that gets virality could reach 1 million people. So the power of digital is, unlike an event, it's not a one-time view, it's a multi-time thing. So the first thing is this, that you must understand that any event, if you can shoot and keep in as digital for posterity, it will always give you repeat value. One. When I took over as president, I realized that there was a lot of problem because the government was not allowing us to do events. We were being told that events are not safe. We were
Yeah,
considered to be one of the biggest reason why COVID was happening. Oh, those
very
horrible
true.
weddings. Oh, you've got
Yeah,
no safety standards. So I
yeah,
must say that Siddharth Chaturvedi, Samit Garg, Deepak Pawar,
yes,
KJ, and the entire team, uh, you know, everybody, Poonam Lal, everybody came together. And
yes.
first we made these safety protocols. So you should do things that help a larger audience for people to see you. We took those safety protocols and went and met everyone in government. I said, guys, DM, CM, PM, anybody you can meet, we'll meet. And we started meeting ministers, district magistrates, and they turned and said, this is such a great idea. You're giving us a
Excellent.
way to do physical meetings, etc. So that made the invisible event manager visible. People
True.
realize our power. The second thing was that we immediately, if you remember, started doing a digital costing plan, because we said, guys,
Correct.
you're
Correct.
entering a new realm. There's a guy
Yes.
who's been making advertising films for years. He will come in 2 seconds and do this costing. You will take 2 weeks to do it. So we built a costing template. We had
True.
workshops, we told people how to do it. And look how beautifully people took to it. There are so many companies from within EMA today who are full-fledged content studios.
Very
Deepak
true.
Pawar's company, I would venture to say, makes more money from content than it does from a live event, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Vibhor
Yes.
sitting in Dubai, or multiple people who have had these kind of companies, you will realize, are doing very very well. So what happens is that one part was education, one part was advocacy, so we were advocating our cause. And when the second wave happened, we said, here's another opportunity. We went to the
Mm.
government, and honestly, I must say that Vipul Pandey in Delhi, Vijay Arora,
Yes.
Rajiv Jain, they went and said, you know what? Why can we not go and put out hospitals? We can go and run hospitals. Vipul
I
Pandey said
remember.
run an oxygen helpline. And
Mm,
these things, when you go and help the common person, the government notices. And the government
true.
noticed us. We went and
Mm,
met the INB secretary. So again, I said education, advocacy was important, being there for each other. The sessions we had, learning from each other's stories, Siddharth Ganeriwala doing that
yes,
lovely show with everyone. It was so beautiful.
beautiful.
And I must say that even my team, Martin, all the regional heads, everybody really worked so hard. You're nothing unless you're a great team, and that team
Yes.
really delivered. That today we have dialogues. What I love is Samit, such a great strategist. Him having taken over. The other problem used to happen was one set of people would win, and the next set of people would oppose everything they did.
That's a
Right?
normal thing.
Very
We need
terrible
them.
thing in politics, right? And because Samit is taken over, what the beauty is, he's taking the same ideas forward. He's carrying on from where we left, and we have built such lovely relationships across all associations. Today, by the way, as we speak, Korea is happening in
Yes,
Konark, where
Konark.
over 20 event management association heads are meeting to decide the future of events in India on a much
Mm.
larger scale. Now, this is called progress. So, I really feel that great strategy, great implementation, education, and advocacy is the 2 years that I was able to give, and I'm really proud that we were able to deliver as much as we could.
Thank you so much, Roshan, for what you've done, and many, many stalwarts like you. I come back to my favorite part of your life. I just love the storyteller. And I think all of us, professionals, when we talk with conviction and we each one of us bring our story to the fore, it is only then that we are able to get across what we want. So, for those who are watching, all of us have been, real fans of the Spoken Fest. I think it's the largest ground spoken festival in the world. I would be right if I said that. I mean,
It is.
number of people coming together, the different. You created a platform where people like you and me can talk, because I know the importance of having a platform. There are so many creative people who don't have a place to vent out their views, to speak. But here you have so many young, old. There's no barrier on age. Thousands and lakhs of people get together. It's almost like a Mardi Gras, when we were young, people coming together to listen to the spoken word. And with every year, the crowd is increasing, content is getting better and better. And I'm sure that, self-worth for you, the commune team, you would love to clap for yourselves at the end of that wonderful fest that you do. Tell us more about your involvement in storytelling and how you're taking it beautifully ahead.
So, Meenakshi, what happened was when I finished making a film in 2011, I went through a bit of a creative drought because I think the pinnacle of creativity in India is considered to be making a film. And you put all your heart into it. And when I came out of the other side, I felt this creative, like as in a vacuum inside me. And I thankfully again have a lot of friends in the creative business. Mini Mathur, Kausar Munir, Vikram Sathe, Ankur, Gaurav, all of these people. And they started telling me that, the only way to refill that emptiness is to go and engage with creativity. So for the first time in many years, I started going and watching shows and plays. I used to love watching theater, but I was starting to see musical plays. I went and started watching things in other languages. And I saw that there is this bubbling underbelly of creativity in Bombay that doesn't get exposure.
True.
I was a fan of an American collective called The Moth. And having seen their work, I was like, why can we not try something similar here? So I wrote an email to 15 friends and said, guys, there's a friend of mine who's got a small bungalow where people do yoga. They finish at 8. If we can gather at 8:30, we will come and tell each other stories. And when you have mad ideas, you need mad friends who believe in them. So all of these people turned up and they all came, and everybody, I told them the idea of storytelling. And I said, listen, 5 minutes. A story must have a beginning, middle, and end. A story must have a protagonist, an obstacle, and a goal. A
Yeah.
story can have a situation, a complication, a solution. These are 2, 3 different formats. And I said, if you use this format, come and tell me a story. And on the
Uh-huh.
first day, I said, there is no theme. Everybody can come up with an idea. I heard the most gorgeous story from Ankur, from Tess, from Dude Kuna, who's a lovely MC who's now in Australia, from a girl who was a chef who had given up cooking. It was beautiful. The stories that evening enriched my life. The good part was that Gaurav Kapoor and Ankur, they both are now founders in Commune, along with Tess, who's our founder for Spoken Fest. And
Yes.
what happened was that Gaurav very quickly told me, he said, listen, you and Ankur come from the live performance arena. When you see an audience, you guys are very delighted. He says, I am a lazy guy who started doing work on radio and then television. I like to have a camera because I know that millions are behind the camera. So he gave us a great piece of advice, which was that when people are telling these stories, just shoot them and put them out. Ankur kept us real because he's a true indie artist. He has the heart and soul of an artist. I sometimes, due to my event management genes, I'm happy to go and sell an idea, right? But he was
Yeah.
like, stay true, stay true. So we started doing these storytelling shows. I would take one iPhone with a stand and a deodorant because these places sometimes after all the yoga, etc., would smell
Yeah.
nice. Spread it and I would record them and I started putting them on our YouTube channel. And in no time, that YouTube channel grew to 100,000 people. Today, it's almost a million people.
Million, yes.
And on Instagram, we started putting up stuff. And you learn. I'm a great learner. I love to learn. So I started learning how to do digital marketing, etc. And I had friends in Glitch because that was a company I'd invested in who also came and helped me. So we started learning from them about how to do storytelling. They were the guys who came and shot the very first storytellers. And suddenly we realized that there's an audience for this. I took some money which I'd saved for one of my children's education fund, and I said, you know what? Sometimes in life you can take a risk, and I took the risk and I funded the first festival myself. I had just three brands that came to help me: Vodafone, HSBC, Asian Paints. They were also all friends, so I went to them and I said, please do this for me, and they did. And by the end of it, we had on the very first festival 7,000 people over 2 days. And that moment, even now, if I shut my eyes, is a magical moment I can never forget. Like I keep
I
saying
know.
it was like BLJ, like Simran running for the train.
Wow.
So
जा जीले अपना जिंदगी.
yeah, yeah. And for me, see, there is a bunch of people who want to live their life like this. They want to tell
Wow.
the authentic story. And I keep saying this: the more filters we create for Instagram, the more we want to know the unfiltered truth,
Very true. Very true.
right?
Very
आप जितनी चीजों को cosmetic, the more filter, the more makeup, the more we want reality. And this generation is looking for purpose. This generation is looking for authenticity. There are no bullshit generation. We had to take a lot of one-sided things because it came from the boss or it came from authority,
Mm-hmm.
it came from money.
Yes.
They don't care. And I love that about them. Today we have 20 city chapters. We do storytelling events every week. Spoken Fest this time had 15,000 plus people, and my festival head Dipti Bansal, who did such a lovely job, and Tess, who curated it. I think they did a marvelous job this time. It was our best festival. We had the maximum sponsors, maximum ticket sale, maximum everything.
Wow.
And
God bless you.
we met today, and she said, you know what? I think we need to stop at 15,000 people because any more it will start looking like a crowd. Right now, it is still a community,
Yes.
and it's lovely
Very
that you
good.
can have your own head say that's it. And we said, okay, fine, we might increase the ticket price, but we're most probably
Reduce
going
the number.
we're going to do one in Bangalore this year for sure. So you'll see
Wow.
us closer to you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Roshan, you convinced Shah Rukh Khan to produce a little film for you. You wrote, co-authored a book with the great Siddharth Basu. You've done some valuable things, and a lot of our viewers here who come with questions. I'm so glad to see that people are listening in. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. It means a lot when we speak our heart, and there is somebody who's listening to us. May I request the Blue Tick team, Uzwal Madhav. Uzwal, would you like to give us some questions? Very relevant questions are coming in.
Oh, yes. Thank you. And it is great and very inspiring to listen to you, sir. And there are many questions. I would like to take one question from Gurmeet. Gurmeet is asking a question that, every days are not so planned and it doesn't go good. How to stay motivated when things doesn't go good as you plan it, and how to keep going. What is your mantra for that?
So surprisingly, only today I put out one thing which I said that there are two quotes that are my favorite quotes. One is this too shall pass, and
Okay.
Tom Hanks said this very recently, saying that, when you have a great day, when the world thinks you're the best, remember this too shall pass. When you have your worst day, when things don't work out, also remember this too shall pass. The other quote which I love is a Winston Churchill quote which says, if you're going through hell, keep going. इसको बहुत उर्दू के शायरों ने भी बोला है कि चले चलो कि वो मंजिल अभी नहीं आई, यू नो ये the night ends, the morning comes. You need to just persevere through it. And at that point in time, देखो motivation के लिए in life, have either something that you can just stick your courage to, right? Some people believe in God, some people believe in somebody as a friend or whatever. Some people have a grunt or a book or something which they love. I genuinely have a lot of faith in myself, and I have a lot of people around me who I always can depend on. And so I reach out to these people, and I tell you one thing, have two kinds of goals. There's something beautiful I read the other day, which said that in your company, tell some people there are some seeds you are sowing for today, and there are some seeds you are sowing for tomorrow. If you sowed a seed today which didn't deliver into a plant, it's fine. It will do it in the next season. But you planted the seed. आपने एक छोटी पहल करी. You started. So don't count your effort saying, I put in X, did I get out Y? Who knows, maybe you had to put in X plus X plus X plus X and then it would happen. So have short-term goals, have long-term goals. Creative journeys are not sprints, they are marathons. People who get into podcasting nowadays and tell me, oh my God, I've done 10 episodes, there's nobody listening. I said, people will not listen till 1,000 episodes. It is a given rule. It is said in, there's a guy called Ahmed Abdal who talks about, the rule of how 1,000 YouTube streams led him to getting 1 million people. Because people will pay for consistency. People will pay for you coming back and doing it. I put up these reels. I started putting up reels in April last year, thanks to a lovely girl called Ruhani and Kabir, and their team, Manpreet and, Ansh. This team in Delhi helped me. And, in the first month, we had 2,000 people go. I already had some 27,000. I was like, okay. Next month, it was 10,000. Next month, it was 30,000. Today, after a year, I am at 3,37,000 people. I could never have imagined this growth, but I didn't even think of this growth. I just stuck to my plan. Consistency, great quality, content that I believe in. So just stay the path.
It's absolutely
Great.
wonderful. I think also, Gurmeet, I think staying simple is the crux. You cannot be a fake. You have to just stay simple, and you will simply grow. I mean, nobody can stop a simple
Yeah.
person with a creative head.
Great. There's another one question from Navneet. Navneet is asking that, you have inspired many people right now, but during your journey, your early days of Lucknow and your college days in Delhi, who inspired you? If you have any names in your mind who has inspired you greatly and where you are standing today?
Could you just repeat that? I didn't hear the last bit that you just said.
Okay.
He said about Lucknow. What was the second bit?
He said that, during your early days of Lucknow and your college days in Delhi, who are the people that inspired you most and that had made a very strong impact in your life today?
Thank you. Hey, if this is Navneet Mohan, then he's one of the people who continues to inspire me because he's part of my team. He was one of the boys who left and became a lovely CEO at Lakshya and then went on to do many great things. If it's not, then to whichever Navneet, be like the other Navneet. But two things I want to tell you. When I was in school, I had a teacher called Elton D'Souza. Unfortunately, he passed away in COVID, and I felt extremely sad about that. But he was a person who changed my life. He told me the joy in performance. He's the guy who made my English grammar, literature, language wonderful. He was the person who used to remove people from class by using a Shakespeare quote and not saying get out. He would say out, out, brief candle. If he saw a person cheating, he would say, you look like be the snake, look like the snake, but be the flower.
Flower.
Sorry, look like the flower, but you be the serpent neath it. And I was like, here's a man who quotes Shakespeare, took to curse you. How learned is
Obviously.
this man, right? He was my debating teacher. He was my dramatics teacher. He taught me with a lot of gentleness and a lot of support. I think good teachers are like quasi parents in school, so he was there. When I went to Delhi, I had an exactly reverse teacher. I had the most difficult teacher in theatre in Delhi called Amir Hussain. Amir was a terror. Amir was on days a tyrant. But on other days, he was again like a parent. He was a man who taught us that impossible means nothing. I remember we were on stage doing a play called Witness for the Prosecution. Very difficult play in those days, 1990, with a reversible set, all of this. And we were very badly stuck. I'm playing the second lead in the play, and I'm also moving the set because he was like everyone has to do everything. And while on stage, he suddenly realized that they had dates on the 16th of Jan. And when we took the bow, he turned and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, in Jan we are presenting My Fair Lady." And I was shocked, saying, "How can he announce a musical that we will do in 40 days?" But we did it in 40 days. So he made me realize the impossible dreams. Now, I think, honestly, these were my early mentors. And then, of course, there were a bunch of great people around me in college. I remember Kabir Khan as my senior in Jamia. Heard so much about his work, saw him working, loved his work ethic at that point in time. So many friends. Rishad Rizvi, my theatre friend, and we all call him Mamu, but in Lucknow, who again taught us theatre in a very different way. So I think all of these people were great first set of people who inspired me.
Great. We have a last question. That sometimes you. This is a question to both of you actually. You as leaders have been managing teams. Sometimes your team is not doing something great, but at the same time you have to give a feedback to them. And also keep them motivated. So, how to handle such scenarios as leaders?
Meenakshi,
Go on. See, for me, empathy is a very big word. And if you realized, I've always been Amma, I have been Meenamma to my team. And, people like Roshan bring very corporate values. But women like me, we get an advantage. We stay as mothers. So for me, I've always used the motherly strictness and, have you realized that, between father and mother, the mother is always valued more. And the only reason is because you love her a little more. So I've used this very strategically in my team. So whenever they've done badly, I have been very strict. I have taken them to task, but I made sure that I didn't burn my bridges. And teamwork is our lifeline. So as a leader, at any stage of life, your team is you, and you are your team. So for me, it was easy. It was easy as a woman to relate to giving them a whack in the butt and telling them that you have to get back. But when they did well, I would always appreciate them much more. And for me, it was all about empathy and being with them. But Roshan, you are that wonderful maverick. Tell us, what did you do when your team did badly, and how did you handle it?
so I have a formula that I often tell people, which is one is saying, you know, praise in public, criticize in private. So people's egos get hurt. People work very hard, and I've seen people who loved, pulling someone down in front of people. I think that it's a misuse of your power. The other thing is that if you're going to point out a bad thing, I often say in giving feedback, there is a strategy called comment, recommend, which means say, you did this well, you did this well. What you could improve is X. So it's a very nice way. It's like putting a balm first and then telling people. Yes, there are days when you need to give harsh feedback. And I often say this. I remember last year when I came back from doing a tour of a play in Qatar, I came back and unfortunately, Commune was not doing well at that time. And on the 4th of Jan, I wrote my team a mail which started by saying, "I'd have loved to say Happy New Year, but unfortunately, I can't." Now, it took a lot for me to write that mail because I have a very young team. I know it would impact them. I know it would worry them. But I went through that mail. I wrote it. I rewrote it. I wrote it. I rewrote it. I read it again. I read what you write multiple times because words, sometimes when written, cannot be taken back. Spoken words sometimes can still be taken back, but written words can't. So I actually think a lot before putting something down. And when I put it down, people come back with feedback. They give me good feedback sometimes on these things. So you need to sometimes tell them the harsh truth. Sometimes you need to hold their hand. And you know what Meenakshi said, that she's called Meenamma. Let me tell you a secret. My surname is Abbas, and multiple teams who work with me drop the S and call me Abba, which means dad.
Oh, how
So,
sweet.
so everybody says that I like giving this vibe of being something of a father figure. It also keeps a limit of respect. It also keeps a certain distance is important. Over familiarity sometimes between the boss and a colleague can lead to a lot of mishaps. I'm always very wary of that. So I like to keep that distance. I like to keep a little bit of that. And like I had a boy who came to me day before and was sitting with me, and I said, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 26." So I said, "Two of you make one of me." you know, it's nice sometimes to tell
Yeah.
people subtly about your experience. That boss, I have 26 years of experience over you in life. So a leader, there's a lovely line which Tom Robbins had in his book, which said, "A leader is a dealer in hope." So there are times when you have to
Yeah.
play the hopeful leader. There are times when you've got to play the warm demander. There are times when you've got to play the critic. They are all different roles, and great leaders are able to, by empathy, understand what role to play which day. So I'm sure that there are days when Meenakshi plays the mean amma, and there are days when she plays the fun amma, and there are days when she plays the
Yes.
fun colleague, etc. So I think we do all of these things.
Wonderful, wonderful. For those who
Okay.
have not seen, Roshan runs a show called Stumble. I mean, I stumbled upon it and I was so impressed that, he brings to fore people's mistakes. And I think it was brilliant the way how we learn from our mistakes. I think all of us should go and visit Stumble. I just love it. I love that version.
Thank you so much. It's an idea because, again, like many a times when people will turn and say, "Oh, you made a film, it didn't work. How did it feel to fail?" I said, "I haven't failed. I'm going to make another film next year and hopefully another one in a couple of years." These are stumbles. Creativity makes you stumble, not fail. Don't look on it as failure. We are obsessed with winning and success. So I'm actually, Meenakshi, going to do a conference at the end of the year, which is going to be the Stumble Conference, where I want to
Wow.
get people together to celebrate all the things that went wrong from which something right happened, all the things that they stumbled across, which was great ideas and great inspiration. And it's something I hope I can leave as a legacy to people behind.
Great.
That's so
Uh,
wonderful.
Thank you so much. These were the questions. Meenakshi ji, you can continue, and I will.
I think we've taken a lot of time. We started thinking that we're going to be talking to this maverick only about events. But then, how do you put a gentleman who has so many qualities into a box? And the box has been only a part of his life. His entire life is full of goodies. So, Roshan, you're coming to this platform. And as you see, we are simple people with beautiful life stories to come and share the space so humbly with us. All the children who are watching, our viewers, many of the people who actually recommended that I ask you such and such question. I'm happy to see that they're here. And for the days that are to come, what are the 5 things that Roshan Abbas would advise youngsters and older people, young people like me, of course, on how to handle the new India, the new age we're going into? We are going into something very exciting. So, Roshan Abbas, give us those 5 points that we have to hold tightly so that we can say that one day this great man gave us those 5 words of wisdom.
So make artificial intelligence your friend because it's not an enemy. Those who know how to do the right thing with it will benefit and prosper. It will become an essential. That is the first thing. Understand the heartland of India because the metros, etc., are saturated. The real talent, the real opportunity lies in tier two, tier three. These are the gold mines of the future. This is where new India's ideas and innovations will come from. So if you're in a small city, you've already got a step ahead of most other people. Learn to speak in the languages of people. The times when English was the medium of expression and the gatekeeper to a great career is over. You will find a lot of vernacular entrepreneurs. So respect language, respect diversity, respect what people know at that level. We have Unfortunately, my generation and the generation before has not done good by the planet. Um, your generation can save the planet. Yes, there is one Elon Musk looking for Mars, but God forbid he doesn't find it. Where are we going to go? So please, please, in all your ideas, think of sustainability. And I'm not saying pay lip service. We spend a large sum of money at our festival to make sure it is sustainable, to put out the message of sustainability at our festival. Another Roshan Natelkar down south, when he does Echoes of the Earth, he puts out this message of sustainability. It is very important as business owners for us to stop celebrating the commercial and start focusing on that which has purpose. This is a very purposeful generation and they will change the world. All your ideas will never come true. You will at some time run out of steam. I live 100 ideas by investing in them, and that investment is not money. That investment can be advice. That investment can be time. That investment can be just support. That investment can be a connection. Last thing, and I know I've given five, but I'm giving you a sixth is in any transaction, do not try and fit yourself in to see what's in it for me. I cannot tell you in my life, when I came to Bombay, somebody said, why don't you charge a percentage? You've given this person this contact. And I said, no, I will not charge a percentage. Somebody said, you've given them this idea for free. I said, that's fine. Life has a way of paying you back. There is a circle which pays you back. I can tell you 100 instances where a small good has come back to pay me back 100 times over. So believe in the good. Again, sorry, I know I'm giving you more, but I'll give you one last one.
Go on,
Um,
go on.
do not crib about things that are not good with the world. Go out and change them. Digital allows you this terrible habit of clicking a button and thinking you've made a difference. You have not. Great revolutions are done by feet on the ground, not digital footprints. So if you really believe in something, get your feet on the ground. When I do Spoken Fest, I did it because I believed 8 years ago in the power of spoken word, in stories and poetry. And today, when I stand there, I feel that look at how big this has happened. But it only happens because somebody takes the first physical step.
Step.
So make
Very
a
true.
physical step towards your ideas. That's it.
Thank you, Roshan. Life is a beautiful journey. And on this journey, it's a journey from womb to tomb, friends. Whether you like it or not, we come with expiry dates. The only thing that remains on the shelf life is our thoughts, our values, and what we did during that time on planet Earth. So, people like Roshan who come to us, they tell us stories of true lives. I would like you to check more on such true stories because Roshan and his entire fraternity have made an attempt to put India on the map of the world. And you and I, Indians, are proud to be here listening to such stories. God bless you. Thank you, Roshan, for being with us. God bless you.
Thank you, Meenakshi. Thank you so much. And God bless you, your team, and all the people who were watching. May you all prosper in all you do. And may you have the right purpose always and God on your side. Thank you.